So good afternoon. Welcome, my good Mr. Godfrey Mtindi, who is based in Mozambique, but his experience is in education. Is that correct? Or in non-governmental organization?
The non-governmental sector, areas of education, good governance, human rights.
Okay. What are the lessons that you have learned in your own experience, personal experiences?
Yeah, development is a very wide area, and people understand things differently from when we say we're talking of development. We might argue the whole day on the meaning of development itself. To some, development is when we put some physical infrastructure. They say there is development. If there is a road, if there is a bore, then that's development. And in developmental language, we call that one the hardware of development. But there is also something that goes beyond the hardware. That is the software. And it is the software. In software, we're talking of skills, we're talking of networks, we're talking of building of capacity, we're talking of advocacy, the changing of laws, or the domestication of the laws and the policies to suit the conditions. The people, do the people have a voice in developmental issues, where the ball should be or where the road should be? Whether there is fairness and democracy at community level or at country level. These are the soft issues. And when you deal with, when you now in a community, you find when you come to a community, the local authorities, if you want to do the hard way, quickly they open the doors for you. Please, yes, one ball, want this, want this. But you might find out that if you are not careful, the infrastructure that you have built there or that you are facilitating to build, you are looking for the resources, you are working with the local community, it might be used to block some people from enjoying their rights. Like, let's say, if people are not allowed to fetch water, and the belief is that by providing potable water, we are reducing a morbidity of the population, we are reducing the distance of fetching water, so that the girls can go to school. It should promote gender equality. The women are not going 20 kilometers to go and fetch water. The family sanitation and water and health is going to improve. That's what we want to expect. But if some of the families are barred from getting the water, then you find out that the hard way, instead of it enhancing the rights of the people, enhancing democracy, enhancing gender equality, it is actually used to bar the other people. So development is, as I'm saying, development is quite a complicated, package, up to the extent that when you go to some countries, they want to see your projects and they don't allow you to use certain terms like human rights. They say no. When you talk of human rights, we are going to talk about governance very soon. Whether you talk of child rights or gender rights or community rights, they say, no. Use a softer term because we don't want you to create confusion for us here. Because these people they know that when you talk development and when you talk rights, it's an open-ended avenue which will bring you to question the decision-making process and the power dynamics of the community.
How long have you been in the diaspora?
I've been outside my country for 18 years.
18 years.
Yes.
And you know of depression, and particularly in these circumstances, what are the typical problems that people in the diaspora face, apart from missing home?
Yeah, I've met people in the diaspora and worked with them. Africans in Germany, in Europe, we have met groups of Africans, especially young people, young job seekers, young people who are working. The first challenge which they have is the documentation. They go in as tourists, or they go in clandestinely. It's well organized. They have got traffickers whom they pay, and they are sneaked inside. And once they are inside now, the problem is now theirs to explain how they got in and why they are there. So the guys go under. They don't have proper documentation. They are running away. So when they don't have proper documentation and they're running away, they are susceptible to police corruption. Or over there, in some of the countries, like in Africa, they become lunch and breakfast for our policemen. But over there, the corruption is less. But then there are unscrupulous employers who actually look for the people with no documents. And I think the story is now clear. When the person is marginalized like that one, their conditions of service are also like that. And you find out that in Europe, we also got people from eastern part of Europe, Bulgaria, Poland, these former East Bloc countries. They are also there as unregistered immigrants, but their conditions are much better than those of Africans. And when you talk to the young Africans, yes, they want you to discuss general issues. They don't want to discuss specific issues. Like they will say, most of them are from West Africa. But for them to say, I come from this country directly, they don't want. And their names, they don't want with their names. They are living under, they are very precarious working conditions. They're taken advantage of. And accommodation, some of them live in this bed and breakfast where they pay 30 pounds, 30 euros a day, like that one day. So they're in transit and things like that. And it's difficult now to regularize their conditions because they have to declare themselves. In Italy, we saw groups of refugees. Those ones we have gone in illegally through the Mediterranean Ocean. They are there. We saw them in Turin. Very difficult conditions. And those who are in towns will have passed through the refugee receiving center for them to be screened, treated, and things like that one there. And in the beginning, they said things used to be better. They used to be given documentation for them to work. But after the influx of these young people, and not only young, even the old, even women, even children, they have now made things very, very difficult for them to get documentation. So after they have been received, and if they are lucky, because countries close their borders, they are freezing out there, they close their borders. Because they are saying, no, maybe by receiving them, we are encouraging. So after they have been received, they have been documented, they are released. Instead of being in the beginning, they used to be in a given accommodation. Now they say, no, go and fend for yourself. How do you fend for yourself? They go to work on farms, apple farms, and...
Okay, and are you active on social media?
Hello?
Are you active on social media?
Oh, yes.
Okay, which platforms are you active on?
I sometimes go on Facebook. But because you have one is to work, Facebook becomes too overflooded. I do WhatsApp and sometimes on Twitter.
Okay, and WhatsApp, how many groups are you in?
One is to limit the number of groups because sometimes they distract a lot.
How many groups, and what is the kind of content that is in those groups?
I'm looking for yes, most of the groups I am are in development issues. These issues we are talking about, issues of governance, issues of social and economic development.
Is it organized or disorganized, where a person just comes in and throws their content?
That's the challenge that we have. Social media, as it is social, people take it to be a place where they go to play, to throw jokes and things like that. The groups I have chosen and opened some groups that focus on some issues, so that you look for people who are of a certain level of awareness. We are not talking of education as such, but awareness and a certain level, a certain inclination of interest. Because when you take everybody, you might find that you can't go because somebody wants to talk about Manchester United, but you guys want to talk about issues of development in Africa. You want to discuss like issues of a particular country. It becomes distracted. But then looking at it as a social media, it's not very formal. There are no power structures. So somebody will tell you, I discuss what I want. Sometimes it's difficult to deal with some people when some people want to be difficult. Like I've got a...
When you look at self-government, you set up a WhatsApp group. Ideally, when you are constructing it or becoming admin, how do you get people to come in? Because most people come in, they say, what is the purpose of the group? Have you ever heard that question?
Yes, exactly. We have got, like, I can cite the example of our school group, the last school where I did my O-level. We have formed a group. I'm one of the administrators who thought about the idea. Well, there are other more senior people. We had already started to do it on an ad hoc basis. They just go to the school, they buy books, they leave them there. But we have said, no, let us do it in a more structured way so that even those who have got very little can also donate. Our school is stressed already. The infrastructure is collapsing. Very, very bad. You cannot believe that this is the school where we have got engineers, we have got accountants, we have got people in America, people in the UK, business people. We have got import and export companies. So we said, no, let's come together. Let's form a group. Contacted the people. No, that's a good idea. They said, all right, go ahead. Formed the group. And then we said, no, let's have self-governance. We are not children here. What we are focusing on here, we are focusing on the school. So we want issues to do with the school and with the community. And if you want a specific issues with somebody else, you check them and then you go inbox, you deal with that one. Yes, it was agreeable in the beginning, right? And we also agreed, no, we are a very big community, diverse. We have not been together for the last 30 years. We left school in the late 80s. We have not been together. It's about 30 years. So let's avoid sensitive issues, especially to do with parties and issues to do with contestation of power. We agreed that with that one. We started talking about issues, but you find some people are very difficult. Once in a while, somebody else brings some campaign material. Once in a while, somebody else throws in a song. Things like that one. They happen in these social media groups.
So when you look at the impact of social media on building communities, problem solving, do you think the platforms are being used to build bridges or to divide people?
That's the big challenge that we have. Let's look at some countries where the media has not been decentralized and liberalized. There is the official or the public media. There is the government newspaper, the public, I don't know what to call it government, but it's the public, the state newspaper, maybe there are 3, and then a few private ones. But when it comes to electromagnetic media, the state is controlling so much that there is no space. The radio, maybe there are 4 or 5, but they are almost parastatals. TV, maybe it's 1 or 2, both controlled by the state. What we have found out working in those countries is that with the coming of social media, it has been a very welcome development. People actually prefer and they trust social media more than the public media, especially the electromagnetic media. They believe that the radio is lying, the television, the national broadcaster is lying. And the official newspaper, the public newspaper, is manipulating information. So they look for the private one. And where there is no private, they are going to the social media. Some people go to the website of the newspaper. These are those ones with a certain level of information. But most of the people who have got, because in terms of in terms of coverage by social media and information technology, we are now very far. We are now very far. Almost everybody, especially the young people, have got a telephone, a cell phone with internet. Right. Of those people, let's say we have got a coverage of 60%. Most of those people are young people, and they are looking for an alternative voice. So they go to social media. But then the social media has got a challenge. Some of those people think that whatever thing they see on social media is a fact. And that causes a problem. And the people who do who market their politics or who market their developmental agenda know that the young people who are there, who are on social media, one, they do not have an orientation on what social media is and what it is not. That social media can actually be a factor that dislocates the community instead of building cohesion. That's the other challenge that we have. That's the other challenge that we have.
Have you heard of the case study of Mukoma Masimba, who is based in Australia? And there's been a lot of talk about him, of him, and he has been very active on the Facebook Live and very, very visible and speaking his mind. And right now, he has been going through what he calls his own script, arising from what you just said, that reality can be manipulated, can be generated. And if I say today something, people will believe what I'm saying or what they've heard. And I can say I'm sick. The whole world will talk about my sickness, not theirs.
That's true.
I can be able to shape and define the personality of news.
That's true.
And the person may never have been trained to be what he is. Yet those who are trained will not get any followers.
That's the big challenge we have, right? Because the challenge, the biggest challenge of news is that we don't have neutral news. Those who push news have got an agenda. Everybody who pushes news has got an agenda. They want to sell a certain perspective. Whether an item, they want to sell the item, they exaggerate. Like when we grew up, it was safe yawam kadota. When in the 1970s and the 80s, there was no other soap. So would have Mukadota and Mairwizi, and Mukadota is now asking a woman, "No, what are you doing, my Mairwizi? No, I'm washing. What are you using to wash? It's chef. Why are you using safe? Because you're in extra power." So this is the one topic or one rhetoric that is being sold, that the only results for you to get the results in washing clothes is to use safe. So this can be also the challenge we have in news, that we start a rhetoric, we start building a rhetoric that no, black is better, white is bad, but we don't want to check how is it better, in which senses. We no longer want to interrogate these rhetorics. And when you want to interrogate that rhetoric, you are automatically labeled, or you are automatically stigmatized that no, you are in this group or in that group. That's where news, the media becomes a bit difficult to understand and to deal with. I've had discussions with my friends who are in the formal media, journalists themselves. I have thrown in some questions.
How many friends do you have in the media, if I may ask?
quite a lot, and I cannot name them, but I've got some powerful guys, editors, former editors, news anchors. Some we are not very much of friends. We work together.
If you are asked to nominate 3 of them who stand out as your standard bearer of what good journalism is, who would it be?
I don't want to destroy relationships, but let me explain what I would call a good journalist.
Okay.
I want somebody who is there to inform the public, who looks at, who tries to build to have some neutrality in their presentation of the story. We want somebody who tells the story so that the people, after they see the story, they make their own conclusion. But it's a very rare breed of journalists to find, because
you find one who tells it as it is, that you can name, that this person just gives facts as the way they are.
Now the challenge, Mr. Comrade Mawere, is that type of journalist is not employable. When Mr. Mawere or Mr. B or Mr. X build a media house, they are serving a specific market. They are serving a market niche. Maybe they are serving a higher class. They want to promote a higher type of living. They are serving farmers. They are promoting things like that one. They are serving a religious society. Like in East Africa, you find journalists which serve different segments of society like that one there. They are very much advanced in West Africa.
No, I'm just saying is, if you don't have one, just say, I don't have one. The question is specific. Do you have one person who speaks truth to power, who is prepared to stand on his feet, not on the side of somebody else, just stating it as it is?
That's what I'm saying, Mr. Mawere, that type of standard journalist who stands on the truth and who doesn't spin the news, they will be employed, they will be unemployed. Because when you go to the public sector, wants you...
I'm not going beyond that, Godfrey. My issue is that if there is nobody that you can name and shame, fine, then we start from there to say, how can we build this persona, this idea, this icon, so that we build on shared understanding. Like one person, 10 Chris says, I can name one, Hope Chingono.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the that's why I was avoiding naming people. I don't want to go into the issues.
I'm just putting you on the spot because it's Hope Chingono. What is your take on him?
I don't want to get into the issues. That is a sub judice issue. It's in the courts and things like that. It has got its own pitfalls.
Let's play a game. Let's say you are President of Mnangagwa and I am Advocate Chamisa. So we play this game. Your view of Hopewell.
Comrades, let's take a neutral country. Let's go to South Africa. Let's go to South Africa and discuss the characteristics which don't affect us directly.
No. The reason I'm asking, we want to celebrate the best in the craft. And then we want to arrive at a destination where we are talking about Mukoma Masimba.
Yes.
Right now, what he's going through is an individual that brings all these people. Some are angry, some are happy. And he is not a journalist, but he has taken his time, given up his time to share whatever is going through his life. And people know about his life because he has given up time and he has taken an interest in sharing. Whereas we get these arguments after arguments without specificity. So if that is the case, that's what I was talking to you about, building a community that celebrates excellence in whatever craft. So that when we know those shining stars, even on your side, if we say, let's find development practitioners who have been in these NGOs, who stands out? Does Godfrey stand out? If so, what makes one become the best in the craft? So
that's true.
I'll just give you an example of I went to North Korea some time back, and when I arrived, the president at the time was Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, is it? The current.
Yes. Yeah, the current.
He was called a great leader. He was a human being like you and me. They deified him. They treated him like he was sent from heaven.
Yes. I remember. I remember also in the 1980s, we used to sing those ones. And when the Koreans built the national state, the Heroes Acre, we were singing his name.
That's right. So he was a human being, but he was treated as a superhuman being.
Yes.
So the people, even the media, would refer to him as a great leader, meaning that if he was great, other human beings were ordinary.
Yeah.
He was exceptional according to them. So when they took over after the Second World War and North became divided from South, the people who could run away from the North had to run away to flee so that they could find themselves sleeping in the South. So most teachers who were enlightened left North Korea. That's how the story was told. They went to South Korea. So the problem in the North now was students, but without teachers. Students with buildings, but no teachers. And the question is, how do we build an education system? So he provided a national conversation on what is a teacher. Because he said, if we can answer that question, we can solve this problem. So, do you care to know what kind of answers they got?
Yeah, yes.
Some say the teacher is somebody who is qualified to teach. So who qualifies somebody to teach?
So we are already building the performance indicators and the performance indicators of a teacher.
That's right. What if I pass and become a teacher, but stopped learning from the day I passed my exam?
And that becomes a challenge.
No, I have got the certificate which confirms that I am a teacher by profession. But I constructively stopped learning. I start drinking.
That's why I'm saying that presents itself. That presents a challenge because a teacher has to meet different challenges, and the teacher meets the content and the curriculum has to also integrate the changes in the community.
But what is
in the country?
What is a teacher then? Because you are now describing somebody who doesn't exist. I will just give one example of one person who is a holder of certificates.
Yes, and does not go on learning.
Yeah. So what is a teacher then?
You want me to come in?
No, I'm saying that is the question they were asking, which was a
Exactly.
national conversation.
Exactly.
That is a community conversation. What is a president?
Mm-hmm.
How many people want to be president without knowing what a president is?
Of course, there are many.
How many people want to be doctors?
Yes.
Without the patience, without the temperament. When you are called at midnight and you are drinking, you are at a party, and somebody is in the casualty unit, what should you say?
That's very true.
I will see you tomorrow. Then tomorrow, there is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
How many journalists are trained, qualified, but they can't write a story? They can't do research because they say I'm qualified. Because I know what I was trained to know, and imagine it's 30 years ago.
And many things have changed. Mm-hmm.
It's a new normal.
Yeah, correct.
So that's a national conversation. So when a person like Mukoma Masimba goes into this difficult period, it provokes us to think about what is a social media celebrity, what is a journalist, how do you cause people to follow you? Is it necessary to be followed? Imagine you are meat, you are attacked by flies. Would you want to identify the flies by name? Or you just know that there are too many to be identified?
Those are the challenges that we have, especially when we are looking at social media, because the social medias maybe are operating on the parameters of a tabloid. A tabloid is a newspaper which lacks quality, whose stories sometimes cannot be verified. Sometimes the journalists just create things. They sometimes are there to create a hype in something, to create debate, to create an interest. Newspapers are compromised to creating hypes or to create a certain product. They can be bought. They can, there are newspapers which nobody trusts. Their stories nobody trusts. Like in South Africa, I know there is the Sun, the Daily Sun. Nobody takes it serious anyway. In Zimbabwe in the 1980s, there was Kweza. Nobody really trusted Kweza. Then there was after some time, I remember there was the Daily Gazette. The Daily Gazette had issues as well. Sometimes some of the stories which were in the newspaper could not be verified, and people now had question marks on it. So coming to social media, they sometimes people work like that one. They want to market a certain rhetoric, or some people want to sell some products. So the following which they have is not by mistake. It's a way of marketing. If somebody has got a following of 2,000 every day, they have to try to maintain that group, so that 1,000, so that if they will put on a certain suit or they use a certain product, and then they will say, no, this is what I use, the companies are automatically using them to market those things. Like you check on the social media in Zimbabwe, there is a comic professor. He's already into marketing of goods and services. There is Gonyeti. He's already into big money. So even some NGOs are using her to market some products and to publicize some services. There is this one from Masvingo, Sabuku Varazipi. He has managed to attract to attract a large following. So the companies are following. Capital follows where there is money. So we cannot blame people when they want to get cheap popularity. Like looking at our situation, there is unemployment. So when a person does whatever they do out of interest, they want it to finally transform into dollars and cents.
Okay. We have Lakson Chiwai, who is a member of the C2C community. He says a teacher is a person trained on a particular subject. What does it mean to be trained on a particular subject? You master the subject because you have been trained. That is a question for Mr. Chiwai. And be able to transfer. What is transfer? How can I transfer my personality? How can I transfer anything? Transfer the acquired knowledge and skill to the next person. How can I transfer it to you? Is there a wheelbarrow I take?
This already this one has got a problem. It's the old approach to education, that the teacher has got a reservoir of knowledge. So when they go, they are filling the children's heads. When we now look at the philosophy of the 80s, after liberation, we use the philosophers such as Paul Freire. They say, no. Things are not like that. The teacher is anyone and the classroom is anywhere. Well, it doesn't mean that we don't have a teacher in the class. But what they are saying is a learning is not a controlled parameter like a building, that you have got a building block and cement and you are laying the bricks like that one. Where you end as a builder, that's the way you are going to start tomorrow. In education, it's not like that. There are some children, or the teacher should be able to facilitate learning. They should introduce the material formally and then provide an environment where the students or the learners, whatever we call them, where the learners are supposed to continue. They're supposed to continue. They're supposed to finally make their own evaluations of the material themselves.
But
we are talking of
Mr. Chiwai has got his own thinking that a teacher, and you have just given a different perspective, founded on expert opinion. So do you agree that there is no definition of a teacher?
Yeah, we might agree. We might agree to a number of definitions.
I can see a car.
Yes.
An object. I can say a phone is a phone.
Yeah.
But a human being is incapable of being pigeonholed.
Yeah. It's dangerous. When we pigeonhole people, it becomes very dangerous. It becomes very dangerous because we might be limiting those people's we might be limiting their intuition, we might be limiting their horizons, that they will believe that if we control and we manipulate them, they will reach a wall from which they cannot go, or they cannot go over. I would want students who are able, yes, I can guide them, but from there I would want them to swim on their own and to swim much further. Imagine much further. That's an education that liberates.
We have Mukoma Masimba, who was talking about witchcraft. He is in Australia, and he says, Zimbabwe. And people believe it, that his condition is based on what happened or what's happening in Zimbabwe. Then they've traveled so far to go to the UK. They've traveled so far to go to the Americas. They've traveled so far to get to Australia. Yet they still believe that this person who can cure COVID can cause outcomes in Australia.
Oh, of course, yes, that's very true. Comrade, you are touching on anthropology and sociology. It depends on how you were socialized. If you were socialized, if you grew up in a home where when there is a problem, the grandmother sits down, she takes snuff, She takes a piece of cloth. She speaks to the people. Connotation, we say we are speaking to those who went ahead of us, the ancestors. When what a child experiences and they grow up seeing and they participate in, to them, you can talk of the other things there. But to them, this is the reality. This is their liver. When everything else has failed, this is where they are going to run for a solution.
So do you agree that somebody can create reality out of belief?
What is reality, my comrade?
No, the reality doesn't exist, but it's created. So I can say I am not doing well because Muzimu or because my mother. Because people are saying, go back to your mother and talk to your mother so that you're okay. And he's saying, I've traveled so far, but I just want to expose this problem among Zimbabweans, that they believe in witchcraft. They believe in this, but they live in an era where there's COVID. And all these people of spirits and people of medicine, they still cannot find this virus called COVID.
Can I give you an example of that situation?
Okay.
I was not there, but I heard there was a man who practiced witchcraft in Zaka, in Masvingo province. And then he had the problems with the other members of the society saying, no, they did not want him to live in an area because he was a problem. He goes into this area. After some time, some misfortunes happen. They push him out. That's the story which I heard. So he took his paraphernalia for the business that he was doing. He went to the police station and he asked to see the officer in charge. We call the old people call him member in charge. They use the terms which are used in their time. So the member in charge came and he says, no, I have come. It's a simple thing. I am a witch and I no longer want to do this thing. It's causing me a lot of social problems. And then the officer in charge say, what are you talking about? That thing you are talking about doesn't exist. And he says, it exists. I do it myself. Says, no. The Witchcraft Suppression Act says, no, this thing does not exist. We should not even talk about it. And he said, no, I can tell you this thing exists. Do you want me to show it on you that this thing exists? And the officer in charge had said yes, and the other juniors pulled him aside. They said, hey, don't create problems. Don't accept that one. They said, no, sorry. And the man said, no, this man has said it with his own mouth. I'm going to do it. They organized, they gave him a small amount of money because they said, no, he has to talk to his spirit so that he can reverse this one. And he said, no, let me show you that this thing exists. And then he did his thing. He mixed his products. And then fire came and it hit a tree. I was shown a tree at Zaka police station. I don't know. I was not there when it happened, but I only heard. I went to Zaka police station and they told me this story. Now I come to you, Mr. Mawere. I'm not the man. I'm not a witch, but I'm asking you, what hit the tree there?
What if something
in this story here? What hit the tree?
I don't have the facts. Like Upenyu says, Uroyu Uriko Mawere. And that's a true story from Zaka. So Lakson knows exactly what you're talking about.
So maybe Lakson has got even more details.
No, I'm just saying this is the problem.
Yeah.
That we are arguing over Uroi in Australia. So it means Uroi mileage is there for sure. The tree is there. So it's not something that I can argue against if it's an objective fact. But why don't we talk about Uroi? Why don't we learn from Masimba? Because he's saying, I am a product of these stories, narratives, that for me to be sick, there has to be something other than me.
The challenge that we have, the challenge that we have, if we delve into those issues where there are no standards, where there are no agreed norms, it becomes very, very difficult what we are talking about. Because we are talking, like you said in the beginning, we'll be talking of something that we cannot quantify, something which we cannot describe. And kumasvingo zvinonzi zvidhoma
that's what Mukoma Masimba has provoked on social media, on Facebook, to say, let's deal with this demon.
Now he doesn't know. Mukoma Masimba does not know that at home this issue has been amended. The Zimbabwe is now talking about these things, because remember, there was Witchcraft Suppression Act. You were not supposed to point somebody that they are a witch, but now maybe with Africanization, you see a lot of issues happened from the 2000s with the land reform, Africanization. We saw Mashikiro and things like that, per TV, Ebira. We became more and more of an African society. So these things are now being dealt with.
So we'll deal with that some other time. But all I just wanted to expose is that through one person, whether he's playing it up, but he's provoking intensive conversations. Some people are advising him, go and see your mother. Then what is his response? I'm looking for my mother.
Oh.
Because people are saying, for you to be healed, talk to your mother.
And where is the mother?
People are part of this civilization that we call colonialism. Some of them are living in those capitals where the so-called colonialists came from.
So have you seen the comment from
civilization, or should we call it a community of civilizations? There is a class personified in Mukoma Masimba, and that's what I wanted to provoke, that there are people who have traveled so far but have never arrived where they arrive.
Can I just make a comment?
Okay. Go ahead.
There is a wrong narrative which we are sold by the Caucasians. When the English came to Africa, they said Africa was a dark continent full of superstition, full of witchcraft and things like that. But they did not tell us that they also believed the same things which we believe. They sort of wanted to show themselves as clean, as people without a past, without issues. But now they did not know that they would show us films. We saw films, The Days of Our Lives and whatever. We saw that they were afraid of Friday the 13th. And then we interrogated what Friday the 13th was. And we saw that they were afraid of venturing if Friday coincided with the 13th day of a month. They were afraid that bad luck would happen to them. Hello, Mr. Mawere, you are still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, yes. Friday the 13th, we saw it, and we saw that they did not like certain colors. And we check in their films, there are ghosts, there are witches. I'm sure there are people who did Macbeth here. The ghost appears, Julius Caesar, a ghost appears. the ghost of a person who passed away appears. So what am I saying? All communities have got these issues. They deal with these issues of myths and beliefs, ways of life and things like that one day. We are all groping. It doesn't mean that we Africans are worse off in this issue.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying this is a man who has been.
No, I just wanted to expand the argument.
To trying to provoke conversations around things that people often take for granted.
That's true.
And he's provoking another issue. Who am I? What is my identity? So if you see me in a scruffy shirt, I go off air. You still have an impression of me being what you saw. Yet what I am is what I am.
That's true.
How many people think people are teachers when they are not?
Of course, of course.
So a teacher is a student who learns before other students. So that student is student who learns a temporary monopoly of knowledge.
Oh, correct.
Not permanent monopoly.
That's true.
So if I don't study, I don't keep up with what my chosen field. Imagine I don't like teaching. I don't like reading. I don't like writing. I don't like experimenting. Even the things I have learned, I begin to lose them. Even the people I have known, I begin to lose who they are.
That's true.
So familiarity, building of communities, even in the diaspora, where is the register that we have created? Nobody. People say we are 4 million. We could be the largest bank in South Africa alone.
Yes, correct.
But how many people are so stupid that they will not see the power in them, the power in organization, not organization?
Yeah, that's true.
They will see the constraints as driven by witchcraft. And this man, they want him not on social media. Do you know that? There are people advising him not to be visible. Instead of saying, why don't you become Trevor Noah so that we pay for you?
I get you.
Pay to play? Why can't we click to talk to you? How many people would rather be outside and talk about a person without digging deeper to say, I'll pay for subscription. I'll pay for a digital whatever platform. I'll pay for DSTV. But the content that is there is not my content. Why don't we talk about witchcraft? Why don't we talk about who is a teacher, who is a journalist? We may discover that those we look up to as professionals are the most unprofessional people.
That's true. Yeah, we're coming back to what I said, that no, it will be difficult for for somebody to say this one is the best, the ideal journalist, because journalism, it's malleable. You find somebody, when they were in public, they were inclined towards the public, the government's voice. When they are now in private, they become inclined. Like, you remember in our days, there was Bonwo Chakaodza.
That's right.
Bonwo Chakaodza was at ZIDS, Zimbabwe Institute of Development Studies at the University of Zimbabwe. He was lambasting the government every week, every Sunday evening. But he became the editor of the Herald. Then he was singing a different song. So in that case, it's very difficult for us to have an ideal journalist, because news itself has been commercialized.
Even Jonathan became a minister of information because they thought his propaganda is what they need in government. Because he had been writing about that and he changed, somersaulted.
When you are still at Moto.
Yeah. So you can see that I can make you believe that I'm a journalist. And I would take the job of those who are qualified to be journalists.
Yeah.
And then people will say, what has happened? Yet we are the fools because we are not organized to receive content.
Or maybe the people with content are not prepared to break it down so that the other people who have got less content can be able to chew it and to swallow it.
No,
because sometimes information.
You are speculating now, Godfrey. What you don't know, you don't know. But what we know is that right now Masimba is trending and people are confused. Some people are saying he's using us, but he is also delivering a lesson.
That's good.
And that lesson is that how do you explain witchcraft going on Qantas Air, arriving in Melbourne,
yes,
then delivering a blow to somebody in Melbourne,
or sending a case via WhatsApp,
and via voice, and we believe it.
Of course, we do.
Yeah. So this guy is there as a thinker who has seen that we are so gullible. And then you expect civilization to respect you. Because even white people used to believe in those things.
They do believe.
No, I'm saying they used, right now they have to pay their bills. You can't get a ghost giving you an SMS saying that money has been deposited. If it exists, we will be there to the prophet to say, where is the manna? But it doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen, it means even the best pastor cannot produce money that he doesn't have or taken from somebody. You are right, Mr. Mawere. Organization is what we lack as a people. No, me and you, Boniface, we meet here. And we have never been here together. We often, me and Bright, me and Godfrey are different because we're talking about it. We should. Where are you, Boniface? Why are you hiding yourself? So that tomorrow you can carry this conversation and we can pick up from where Mukoma Masimba is. So remember, Professor Mahoso, same thing. They write, if I started writing, appearing on Facebook Live, people would think I'm Mr. Facebook Live. Some are even talking to me thinking that I'm a broadcaster. I'm not. I've never been trained. I don't even know what a broadcaster looks like. It's not about what we believe, but what Masimba believes. No. If you are following, you are part of the narrative. Don't exclude yourself from the story because you are part of the story. The script that is writing is in your face. He's saying, how many people are sharing my audios saying, Nganga, my problems and now. Instead of us saying, how do we organize to produce positive harvest, positive outcomes? We are not talking about that, Godfrey.
Yeah, the challenge when we go into the mythology, it becomes very difficult for us to move ahead because we'll be looking for an excuse. We are
looking for that is sick.
We're looking
because he has not done his rich boy. Boniface is in Zimbabwe. Where is Godfrey? Godfrey is big, but I can see him, but I can't see Boniface. That's witchcraft. What is Boniface? He's a ghost. Ochidoma. So Boniface, step forward. Be counted. You have a voice, use it to unite those to see us in one place in 3 countries. Isn't that a cause for celebration?
Of course, that's true.
That we couldn't do this before. That's the only witchcraft we are not talking about. Technology.
Yeah, correct.
That can make us connect with each other without physical connection.
Yeah, correct.
So if we can do that in this century, what has COVID taught us? That we can start having conversations that deal with these demons. Then this guy is on our air. He's talking about this, and you know what people are saying to him? He's a madman. If he's mad, then all of us are mad. Some even call me to say, why are you hosting him on your platform? He's not civilized. He needs to clean himself up. But we are all uncivilized. We are disorganized.
Yes.
Do you know, I told you about a country called Rhodesia. Did you know that Mr. Rhodes never lived in Rhodesia?
Yeah, he was in the Cape.
He was in the Cape, but the other people call themselves Rhodesians.
Yeah, correct.
What kind of human being would cause others to adopt him as their surname, as their identity? Some even say Rhodesia never dies. That Rhodes is not dead. How could he die when we are there to defend what he stood for? So how many of us are naive, thinking that we don't need others? If Masimba is the glue that makes us meet, why don't we use that to talk about the things that are behind the headlines that other people feel uncomfortable to talk about? So that was the lesson. Thank you very much for enduring this 1 hour to talk about the person who is not here. Like Prophet Muhammad, nobody has seen his picture. Have you ever seen Prophet Muhammad?
No.
But there are 1 billion plus people who believe, who have faith, but they live in the present. He's gone in the past. How many of us are occupied with this ghost of yesterday? That stop us.
Yes, we have got a lot of them. We have got a lot of them. We have got in the history, in our history, in the sub-region and in the country, there are a lot of unresolved issues that we should be able to talk about, not in the sense of creating conflict, but in the sense of reaching out to each other and embracing each other.
So that was my take. And hopefully, if you are listening out there, you reflect on what we have discussed. What is a teacher? What is a witch doctor? What is a journalist? What is a doctor? Who am I? Am I African? Am I Zimbabwean?
Am I Karanga?
Am I Karanga?
Mm-hmm.
Am I Tutsi? Am I Fulani? Am I Zulu? So thank you, Boniface, for being with us so that we can reflect together. So so that all the things that stand between us and progress can be taken away if it takes Masimba to be what he is, so that we can wake up to start doing shows where we pay. Would you mind to pay $10 per show just to see Masimba talk about his script?
Yeah.
Mr. Godfrey, would you mind paying a nominal fee?
Yeah, it will be good to hear. If people go to listen to Mafumo, it's another way, it's another aspect of culture. Is singing those songs that were sung at Miras. So Masimba can also be talking about his issues, which he thinks are there or which are there to him. It's okay, we can go and listen.
That's right. So let's convert negative energy into positive energy so that he can pay his bills.
Yeah.
But not that one person becomes the salvation. I spoke to one person in Australia, says, Mawere, you must continue with these shows. I said, what about you? I'm provoking you to do the same. He says, no, my job doesn't allow me to do that. So I said, who is allowed?
Correct. That's correct.
I said, are you a member of a church? And she says, yes. Did you ask your employer to go to church? No. So why do you need to tell the employer about belonging to something you believe in? Why push me to be the face of something that you also can be a face of? Why do we need Jesus to come back? If two of us meet, he already said, if two or more gather in my name, I am there. But how many people would rather push somebody to be in front so that they remain at the back? If something goes wrong, they say, it's not me, it wasn't me. How many of us want somebody else to host a show that they enjoy quietly, but they're not willing to pay for the time of the person who is there? Education is not free. If it was free, then we would be in the animal kingdom, where a stronger animal tells you that I'll eat you for lunch. And once you are eaten, there's no recourse. But how many of us behave as if we are animals? So I do hope that those with ears have listened, that there has to be a time where you take stock yourself, not feel pity for somebody. But if you want to be positive, let's create our own shows, so that those on the supply side may develop content that speaks to the reality of life as we live it. Is there witchcraft? Yes, because we believe it. How many people believe in witchcraft? The same people who believe in it are the same people who are saying, Masimba, go home. And the Zimbabweans are full of fear that is rooted in history, but we are glad we have the likes of pioneers like you. Thanks, Boniface. Don't talk of Zimbabweans, talk of yourself. You are not afraid, Boniface. Show up, step forward. Then others will follow you. But let's avoid talking about the plural. These Zimbabweans, who are they? Which stadium can I find them? Even if I go there, do they speak with a voice that is clear, coherent, like yours, Boniface? Or they speak in tongues? So let's speak louder about the things that we want to see. Let's also invest in the change we want to see, so that others can provoke us. Masimba started his story with me, accusing me of externalizing money in Zimbabwe. But today he said, I've learned something. That is what is reality, is not reality. Yet the people who caused all this confusion are moving around with suits. They are in state houses, being paid by the very people who are calling him sick. And he says, I'm not sick. I've chosen Mawere to be on this show because I learned something. I used to believe everything I read in the newspapers. But today, I'm better for it. So that's the end of our show. Believe what you want, but invest in facts. Then you become properly angry at your own blindness, not other people's actions. At your own inadequacies, not other people's inadequacies. So if I'm deficient, I can't expect the next person to be deficient. If I'm an idiot, I can't expect to be elected to become something that I'm not. So you decide. Do you want to be governed or you are self-governing? And if you play by your own rules, others will play by their own rules. What unites us is our indivisibility. You are part of the system which has ground the country to nothing. There is another one, Robson. Yes, what system can a human being be part of? Imagine I go to a car and become a car. Have you ever heard Godfrey? That I become defined by a vehicle created by men, by a car that is an object, that a system exists in the, you are talking to me. Then he's saying, I hope one day you pay for your sins. If I have sinned against you, would it take Facebook, Godfrey, have you ever seen that stupidity? That somebody will come on Facebook and say you have sinned. If I have sinned against you, you will know at the time of the sin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't we leave it for another day to start this one start from there?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just leaving him to say, wake up, smell the coffee. How do you sleep, after supporting ZANU-PF? I can't support a logo. Logo is harmless, but people are not harmless. Look at the facts, Robson. Be like Masimba, Mukoma Masimba, who learned something. If you want to learn facts, let's go for them. But don't make yourself reality. Why Africa is the poorest nation in the planet? Yes, people like Robson are the people who make you poor because they say an object. I go for a statue of Cecil John Rhodes who died in 1902 and say Rhodes must fall when he has already fallen. He's in Matopo. Surely there's better things to do. If people build a statue in my name, please respect them. Don't fight a statue. Don't fight a logo. Robson, everyone has a choice on who or what to follow. Even if I fall, but let him be correct on facts. Masimba is saying, I'm sick and tired of people like Robson. They come and peddle lies. They don't have, if I step on your toe, you feel the pain. You don't need a witch doctor to tell you that you've been what? Harmed or injured. If there's a sin that I've committed against this guy called Robson, let him come forward. Let him say on this day, and what happened? Why did you keep quiet when you were injured? What choice following me murder is a choice? If he's a murderer, how do you follow somebody yourself and become what? Become a pimp or what? I'm a human being, Robson. Respect me so that you are respected. Don't take other people to be objects. I'm not a phone you put in a pocket and say it's my phone. I'm a human being like you. You are you. I am me. Respect me so that I respect you. But don't come here to utter nonsense because your head is full of nonsense. Wake up. So thank you, Godfrey. There is a lot of work to be done. Superstition. People speculate. People fill their heads with nonsense. And they expect Zimbabwe to be better. You were part of the system, no matter what system. I can't be part of a system. I am myself. You are talking to me. You're not talking to a system. I'm talking to you. The system is not typing that nonsense. So wake up. Be yourself so that others can be respected for who they are. Don't be a genius of foolishness. How many idiots fill their heads with idiotic facts, with falsehoods, with fake news? It is not, then maybe he should have the courage to carry his own name. Thank you, Boniface. These faceless, nameless people who become the son of Rob just to be able to point fingers at others. A system is made up of, I'm not a system, I'm not Makamba, I'm not Mnangagwa, I am myself. You are talking to myself. I don't have a shadow. I am myself, Rob. If you are Rob, don't call people system. We come from a mother's womb. Systems don't reproduce. We are human beings like you. Respect us. Learn from others. That's why Mukoma Masimba called me to say, I've learned something. I'm sorry. I can't pay you back. What an idiot you are. That's right. So if I'm an idiot, what does that make you? So thank you very much. I think this is what Zimbabwe has reduced itself to. And it's a pity that you have human beings who behave like animals so that they dominate the conversation. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.